Hi all, it's Kimani here. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm glad to have you here. Now, as we all know, recently it was Mother's Day, and upon my mother's request, that she had made earlier in the year, I went to a proper florist. I bought flowers and I built her a bouquet per her request. And being in that moment, that day when I was like building that bouquet and adjusting all the flowers and matching different flowers together, even like just being in the store and picking out the flowers themselves and trying to color coordinate, even scent coordinate the flowers to overall create the best bouquet and best Mother's Day experience I could for her. It really made me realize, wow, I am creative. And I know that's a really funny thought to have, and I feel like it can seem like a quite like amateur thought, but I've genuinely never thought of myself as a creative person. And I don't tend to tap into that creative side of myself on a day-to-day basis. Most of what I do on a regular basis is, like repetitive tasks. And when I'm not doing those tasks, I'm typically consuming. So I'm either consuming like media, like YouTube or TikTok, or and I do feel like reading is a bit better than like just consuming like video content. But reading is also a form of consuming. You're reading someone else's thoughts, someone else's knowledge, someone else's story. And so I haven't really spent much of I'm not gonna say my entire life. I'm gonna say like late adolescence to early adulthood. I've spent most of my time consuming rather than actually creating on my own. And creating that bouquet really made me realize that how much I miss being creative. And it made me think back to when I was younger and I was just thinking, was I always like this? Was it always that I always consumed and I didn't really create as much as I would have liked to? And the answer is no. I feel like I was quite creative as a child. Looking back, I don't think I thought I was creative as a child, but in the way that I conducted myself and the things that I did, I feel like my creativity was reflected in the hobbies that I took up. So, for example, writing. I I used to write so much when I was a child. Like it was insane. Like I could write like 100. I think the most I've written is 200 pages, just like writing stories, and I really miss that part of myself. I really miss you know writing, putting my thoughts onto paper. I don't know what happened at some point during like again my adolescence. I stopped writing and I just everything that I imagined I just kept in my head and I never put it down onto paper. I think part of that was because of school. I feel like for one, school is time consuming. I can't lie, I gave up a lot of my hobbies during that sort of like stage of GCSEs. So I feel like school was one contributing factor to why like I stopped writing. Another factor to why I stopped writing as well, also school related, is that I feel like, English literature, English language, they made writing feel like a chore. So I was doing my so like I don't feel like I was really able to explore like literature, writing and reading. It goes both ways. I wasn't able to explore literature in the way that I would have really wanted to. I was forced to study certain tests. I was forced to write in this really robotic way in order to get the marks. And so I feel like that was another contributing factor as to why I stopped writing. It just didn't become fun anymore. I did so much of it at school, I didn't really want to go home and do more writing. And then I also think that school sort of like sucks a bit of the creativity out of you. I feel like school is very much like you need to do things that are going to help you get a high paying job in the future. You need to study these really like academic subjects. Maths and sciences, and even when they do point you towards like an academic subject like literature, it has to be studied in this certain way. You only study these types of books, or at least that was my experience. That was all my experience of like school, and how school sort of like pushed you into a more logical, rigid direction. Comment down below if you had the same school experience. But I feel like school really did, it made me stop writing, and it makes me sad to say that because like looking back, I used to write so much and it was so much fun. There was a point in my life where I thought I was going to become an author. Um, and I don't know, I just gave up on this at some point, and it does really it makes me really sad to hear to say that. Another hobby that I really love and that I feel like was really a creative outlet for me was baking. This was something I picked up more recently. I didn't really used to do this as a child. This was more like sixth form where like I really started to get into baking. I used to bake all the time, and once again, starting my job, working and studying at the same time, it also took over a bit of my life, and I stopped like baking as much as I used to. And again, I feel like there's this tendency. I feel like I've sort of been conditioned. Comment down below if you guys agree with me, but I feel like society sort of conditions you that when you get busy, the first thing that you give up is all your creative pursuits. You don't really, it's not like all the like you're expected to give up the things that you love, the things that make you creative, the makes that make you think differently. You're expected to give all those up in order to pursue a more rigid way of life. I will also say though, it's not just like how society views creatives. I think it's also the way in which like society is now being shaped by social media. I feel like, especially when I got TikTok, a lot of my creativity was sort of sapped out of me because I was consuming so much more media. And since it was short form content, it was way more addictive. And so it was, easier to like go on to like TikTok and watch someone like, do bake their pistachio cookies and their red velvet cakes and their other desserts as well, or make their little Christmas cookie boxes. It's much easier to go watch a TikTok video of that or even a YouTube video of that instead of just doing it yourself. And I feel like paired with all like being just busy and paired with like the exhaustion that comes with being busy, you sort of give up that creating, because creating takes a lot more effort on your part. It's always worth it in the end, that I find. Like when I was flower arranging, this weekend, I felt so much happiness. It really like it stretched parts of my brain which haven't been stretched in a while, I think. Oh my gosh, my camera just cut on me. That's really annoying. I was actually hoping to do all of this in one take, but here we are. But anywho, as I was saying, I was talking about flower arranging and talking about exercising different parts of my brain. Oh yes. So, just deciding like the heights of like the different flowers, the colors, color coordinating all the flowers, spacing as well, where to put different foliages, where to put certain flowers, and how to make sure like what was the centerpiece, what was like the complementary flowers, how could I position the flowers so that every single angle you can see at least one or two flowers. It was stuff like that it really made me happy, because it's just like when I was done, I was just like, wow, I created this. This wouldn't exist without me. I've done this. I've done something which, I mean, I'm no professional, but it's just nice to know that you've put something into the world that, for all you know, no one else could create. And so that's why I'm creating this video today, because I just really wanted to like talk about this topic. And it's why I want to talk about like creativity and how like I feel like I want to become more creative. I feel like I was meant to be creative in this life. And so I'm going to set myself a few mini goals, and feel free to like set mini goals with me. But I think one thing that I'm going to start incorporating is baking at least once a week. Baking is a very inexpensive way to be creative. Just every week searching up a new recipe, and then trying out new recipes. Even if I don't like it in the end, it's not about whether I like the dessert in the end or not. It's about like just the process of like trying out different ingredients. Even though I do have a recipe, if you're anything like me, I tend to go off track a bit. Maybe add a bit more sugar, add a bit more eggs based on my own knowledge of baking, in order to try and make it the dessert as perfect and tailored to my taste as possible. And so I feel like baking is definitely something that I'm going to do more of once a week, guys. I might take a picture and like make a post about it every single week. Don't hold me to that. Actually, do hold me to that. I really do want to get into it, and I feel like I've really given up on baking. It's a part of myself that I really miss. So yeah, definitely. I think I'll start like a weekly post. I'll post what I baked on the weekend, to hold myself accountable to it. And then another thing that I want to get back into is writing. This is a little harder because like I've tried like writing periodically sometimes, during my adolescence and early adulthood, trying to like get back into the groove of it, and I don't know. I just feel like I never really could write despite knowing more about literature, more about writing. I don't think I could write I can write as well now as I could when I was younger, which is crazy to say, but I feel like it's the truth. My imagination is the same. I can still imagine the same pictures in my mind, but I can't put those thoughts onto paper like I used to. It was something I did all the time when I was younger, and so I practiced over and over and over again. Even if my vocabulary and writing techniques were a bit amateur, because I was practicing constantly, I can do it. Whereas now that I'm older, even though technically I have more knowledge, I'm just, that part of my brain hasn't exercised. That writing, that like literary brain of mine just hasn't been exercised in a while. So that's definitely something I really want to get back into, just writing more and writing more consistently. Maybe I'll keep a journal as well. Maybe like anytime like I'm in a like a daydreaming stage, I might take out a notebook and try and write down like everything that I'm thinking of. And then lastly, it links back to the whole reason why I'm making this video, is that I want to get more into flower arranging. Now, I can't lie, I feel like flowers, I don't think I'll be able to do this once a week just because flowers can get a bit expensive. I mean, my mom's bouquet, if you exclude like buying the vase, the flowers in total cost £57, which, don't get me wrong, I know why they're that price. It's just like I don't think I can pay for that week on week on week, given my other spending habits and things that I also care about. And so I feel like maybe like once a month, I'm debating between like once a month, like doing like a really big bouquet like I did for Mother's Day, or if like every week I get like one or two types of flowers and then maybe get some foliage for the month and I organize like mini bouquets. I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I feel like I'd prefer like the former, just because I really enjoyed making those bigger bouquets. You have more like, there's more room for creativity because you can like, there's more like, you know, there's more flowers, there's more foliage, you have bigger vases, there's more room for like creation and more room for like creative expression. So I might opt for the monthly option, but definitely flower arranging, especially now that it's spring or summer. You guys remember I mentioned this in my what's it called, in my in my previous video about things to do in spring, that definitely flower arranging was on my list, and I'm really going to keep to that because I honestly do love the craft. But anywho, that's all from me to today. If you liked my video, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me about like your creative outlets. Are you a creative person, would you say? I feel like all of us have a little bit of creativity, even if we don't care to admit it. But still, let me know your thoughts about your own creative expression. You know, what do you like to do to be creative? And also let me know if you exercise that creative part, or if you're like me, who sort of like drifted out of that like creative like side of themselves. That's all for today then, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.